Shalom Aleichem Ba'ala Gam B'Shimcha U'B'Tzola Token Muneyam Segula Bo'Mikala Bo'Mikala Le'Hadodi Le'Hadodi L'Ifrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Mikal Le'la Le'Hadodi L'Ifrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Mikal.
Mike is going to be Joseph.
Unfortunately, Joseph isn't feeling very well.
Oh, that just has
So
two
we
colors.
have Jacob instead.
So Barbara's going to read it?
Here's the,
Or you want me to read it? Who's
he's,
reading
well,
it?
Okay.
he's reading it.
Michael's reading
There
it.
we
I'll
go.
read.
All right.
Okay. My father, Jacob, had 12 sons. He loved all of us, but he loved me the best. How do I know? Well, one day he gave me this coat. I wore it everywhere. I wanted my brothers to see it. I wanted everyone to see it. I wanted everyone to see how much Father loved me. I wanted everyone to say, "Do you see that boy? His father, Jacob, made that coat of many colors because he loved his son Joseph so very much."
But that's only black and white. What are you talking about?
Well, it may look that way, but it has red, it has green, it has yellow, it has all the colors.
That's even purple.
Aren't I right, Dr. Feller?
Well, of course, white is composed of all the colors, as Newton himself showed when he separated the colors using a prism. You take white light and take it through a prism, and you'll see the entire spectrum. So, in fact, white has all the colors.
And black is all the colors absorbed.
That's right.
Therefore, you are right.
Excellent. I guess my plan didn't exactly work the way I hoped. People noticed me all right, but my brothers were so jealous we could hardly talk about anything, even when I was trying to be nice. One day, when I'd been sent to give them lunch, they started such a bad fight that I thought they might kill me. Luckily, my oldest brother, Reuben, stopped them. They grabbed my coat right off of me and threw me in a pit instead. I still thought I might die, but another brother, Judah, spotted a caravan coming along, and I ended up being sold as a slave and brought to Egypt.
Okay.
That's this week's portion.
That is this week's portion.
Now, Barbara's
And
going to
this
read.
coat was actually made by Mike's
Yes.
mother.
My mother
So-
actually made this coat back in 1990 for me to wear when I went to college.
Isn't that cool?
Nice.
The story of Joseph is the last 4 parashot of Genesis. It's the longest single narrative in the first book of the Torah. It's called, this part is called Vayeshev, which means that you are wanting to rest, to sit. It turns out that they're inferring that after all the long exile and struggles, Jacob wished to finally settle down in tranquility, but that was not to be. People have often wondered why a trifle like Joseph's coat of many colors, a seemingly rather gaudy garment, should have provoked the murderous hatred of all his brothers. Jacob, in giving this coat, was marking Joseph, giving him the chieftainship of all the tribes upon his death, his father's death. When this story begins, we're told that Joseph is 17 years of age, and he's been helping his father as a shepherd. It turns out that Jacob, who is still going to live for another 12 years, is 108. And grandfather Isaac is still alive too. He's 168. So it's no wonder that they say Joseph is a youth. In comparison, I would say. But it wasn't just his age that said that he was a youth. According to the Midrash, Joseph was quite immature in his actions, and that deemed him a youth. He's known to dress his hair and wear eye makeup to adorn his eyes to make himself look more attractive. I'm glad you didn't come. This is our Joseph, and he's not feeling well, but I'm glad you didn't come with eye makeup on. I think that would have been a bit much. He held himself apart from Leah's sons. He misinterpreted much of their innocent behavior and reported them constantly to his father. As you can imagine, they didn't like that too well.
He was a tattler.
Yes, he was a tattler. These reports, on top of the gift of the coat, and some boasting of dreams in which he imagined himself to be a great ruler to whom his brothers and even his father would bow down and pay homage, caused his brothers to absolutely hate him. They couldn't even carry on a friendly conversation. Whatever he said was interpreted in a negative, contentious way, even when he was trying to be friendly. They were too honest to pretend to love him. Knowing all these things, Jacob still asked Joseph one day to check on his brothers and the flocks. He was afraid they had been taking too long and was worried that a war may have been breaking. They were worried about a war that might break out. To his credit, Joseph immediately accepted. He couldn't find them, however. But when he was about to give up, a stranger comes upon him and explains he overheard his brothers saying they were going to leave the pastures for a while and head to the town of Dothan. Joseph heads to Dothan. His brothers see him coming from a distance and plot to kill him. But they're convinced by Reuben, the oldest and the one who will be given the most responsibility if something goes wrong, that they should simply throw him in a pit. The pit happened to be a dry well that had been dug. It's said that Reuben went off then, planning to rescue Joseph at a later time when the others leisurely sat down and finished their lunch. Maimonides takes this stranger to be an angel sent to make sure Joseph did not give up on his mission. We never hear of this man again, yet if Joseph had not met him, he would never have found his brothers, and he would never have been sold to slavery, and there would never have been an exodus. On the one hand, the brothers were certainly guilty of sin. On the other, the selling of Joseph can be interpreted as part of the divine plan for Joseph to achieve greatness and become the leader of the world's superpowers. And the brothers, were they succumbing to sin, or were they pawns in the divine plan that would ultimately save their entire family? The Torah responds to the sale of Joseph by issuing two commandments. The first is the redemption of the firstborn son, and the second is to give a half shekel once a year, which is referred to as an atonement for the soul. The Talmud explains the connection, saying the firstborn son is redeemed for 20 pieces of silver because the brothers sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver. And the annual half shekel obligation is because of the compensation that they each received. The themes imply there was a sin. The commandment of redeeming the firstborn is a symbol for redemption. Both sin and redemption are associated with this sale of Joseph. The Talmud is teaching us to remember to correct terrible mistakes. While the brothers exercised their free choice, God used the sale of Joseph as the conduit for his eventual greatness. According to the current Hasidic interpretations, the story of Joseph reminds us that while the choices we and others can make can lead to failure, pain, and tragedy, like Joseph, we can understand all as a blessing. Despite human choice, God's plan is always at work, leading us to redemption and healing.
I'll add a few comments. There are two of them.
Okay,
The redemption of the firstborn son still takes place today.
yeah.
It's called the Pidyon Haben.
And if the baby is the firstborn, is a son, and his father was a firstborn son as well, right?
Yeah.
Then you do this. And in our case, we ended up doing it twice because both my daughter's husbands were firstborn sons in their families, and both of my daughters had sons for their first child.
So you actually redeemed the baby with some coins at a little ceremony, silver coins.
It was cool.
And the second thing is the half shekel. When the Jews revolted from Rome, the first coin they minted was the half shekel. in order to provide money for the temple tax. This is the origin of the temple tax. Before that, they used the Syrian coin. So there you go. All right, let's go. B'tzur heavenly, b'yet Zorah, b'hunisi, umanosli, menatosi, b'yom ekar, b'yado, afkiruhi, b'yet ishan, v'ya'ira, v'imruhi, geviyati, Adonai, v'lo ira. That's an oldie.
Well, I hope you're not
I like
taping
it. Oh, I hope it is. It's good. Was that a classic or what? All right.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom,
shalom.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you for coming.